I'm delighted to guide you through this exciting journey of learning with Coursera and their generative AI tool for the course builder. We have gathered here today to explore the Coursera new generative AI tool that will allow you to create the private courses for community by combining parts of different Coursera content and adding your own assessment. Throughout today, we'll delve into the various aspects of the generative AI and Coursera through the engaging presentations and also the insightful panel discussion. It's my great honor to welcome our esteemed guest from the Coursera Executive, Mr. Raghav Gupta, Managing Director, India and Asia Pacific, Coursera, and also Mr. Bipin Chivas, Director of Customer Success, India and Asia Pacific, Coursera. Please give them a warm welcome.
As you heard, so my name is Raghav. This is Bipin. We're going to talk to you a little bit about how Coursera, KMUTT are partnering together and how we might be able to assist in some of the work that you're doing. I will kick us off. Many of you are possibly familiar with Coursera, but I will just show you the slightly bigger, deeper picture of Coursera. And then I'll invite Bipin to go deeper into the conversation. This is a relatively small group. I would invite a discussion. We don't intend to talk to you, but we would love to invite you to also ask us questions, have a discussion as we go forward. And before I kick in, how many of you have already used Coursera? Just a quick show of hands would be helpful. So if you've been on the Coursera platform, if you're already using it, just give us a sense. That will be helpful. Okay, so some of you have and many of you have not. Just as quick introduction, Coursera started at Stanford University. It was started by two professors at Stanford University in 2012. It's a large online education platform, and let me show you a little bit more detail as we go forward. So, like I mentioned, it's a learning ecosystem. It's an online learning ecosystem. You'll see on the left-hand side, there are universities and industry partners who create content on Coursera. 325 companies and universities create content on Coursera. I'll show you some of the names, but leading universities around the world, Stanford, Yale, Michigan, University of London, and so on are the ones who create content. And then in industry, companies like Google, IBM, PwC, Boston Consulting Group, so many leading companies around the world create content which is hosted on the Coursera platform. You'll see on top learners, so 140 million learners around the world come to Coursera to learn. It's a very large number. As you can imagine, 140 million is a fairly large number. And these learners come for various purposes. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go through the conversation. Here in Thailand, about 1 million learners come to the Coursera platform to learn various topics as well. And then we have an enterprise platform. So you see institutions. So we work with businesses, governments, and campuses. We are here as a part of the platform called Coursera for Campus. And here we work with about 7,000 institutions in bringing learning to them and, for faculty members to use the content on Coursera and the product features on Coursera, and also to make it available to your students, which is this partnership that Coursera and KMUTT have. Let me go a little bit deeper into some of these points. So I mentioned 325 universities and companies author content. I'll show you a little bit of some of these. These are some of the universities who create content on Coursera. So you'll see Stanford, you'll see on the top left, Johns Hopkins University, Brown, ASU, University of Sydney, Yale, Vanderbilt, and so on. You'll eventually see these are leading universities in the world, top-ranked universities. They are very strong in some of the subjects that they teach on the Coursera platform. And then increasingly over the last, I would say, 3-4 years, we've seen learning from companies becoming very important because of the pace at which skills have been changing, especially post-COVID. And you'll see many companies create content which is then made available to learners on the Coursera platform. And the approach that we've taken is if a company is good in a particular topic, let's go to them and get them to create that content. And so, if I want to work in digital marketing, then why not learn it from Meta Facebook? So Meta Facebook teaches digital marketing on Coursera. And then similarly, you'll see Salesforce teaches sales operations on Coursera, Google, Intel, Oracle, AWS, and so on. So if you're looking to learn cloud, then you can learn that from some of the cloud providers and so on. This is, of course, a representative view. And in total, there are 325 institutions. And what we do is we don't create content ourselves. We host this content. And so we're enabling this collaboration between all of these institutions to happen. Now, the content that universities and companies create on Coursera is in many domains. These are the predominant domains. So you'll see business, computer science, data science, health, social sciences, humanities, information technology. These are some of the main domains where content is available. And you'll see in each of these domains how many courses are available. This is, what was and is still called MOOCs, massive open online courses. Coursera is kind of the creator of the MOOC. So these are the MOOCs that are available. And then since end of November 2022, ChatGPT, generative AI has come into our lives. It's impacting how industry functions. I'm sure you're seeing your students use ChatGPT also when you don't want them to use ChatGPT. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. And we've also now got content on generative AI, on how in different professions is generative AI getting used. If you want to be a software developer, if you want to be a digital marketer, if you want to be in sales and so on. And now there's content available on generative AI as well, which is the context of this whole launch that we're doing about bringing the generative AI content to KMUTT. And this is my last slide in terms of introducing Coursera. We spoke about 325 universities and companies. You saw some of the representative names. You saw the domains that they've created content in. And this is the different formats of content that have been created. So on the top, you'll see clips. These are short videos, 5 to 10-minute videos. You can integrate them into what you're teaching in class. You might be using some YouTube videos, but it might be more exciting to use a video from Yale or from Michigan or from Princeton in what you're teaching or from Google. So there are 200,000 videos. There are also projects. If you want to teach any digital tool to a student, you're teaching Tableau or you're teaching Canva, any digital tool, there are upwards of 3,500 projects, close to 6,000 courses. This is what in the academic world we would call 1-credit courses, so about 6,000 courses. About 800 specializations. These are usually 3 to 4 credit specializations, and we'll talk a little bit about 4-credit learning. Industry creates certificates. We'll show you those as well. And not so relevant for our conversation today, but these leading universities have also created fully online degrees on Coursera. The degrees from University of Pennsylvania or from University of Illinois, and it's hosted on Coursera, and there are 50 degrees on the Coursera platform.
To begin with, I think the first thing that we are all focused on is to how to drive academic excellence. We need to be able to provide a good learning experience for our students and for faculty. And therefore, how do we look at building out industry aligned curricula to drive a good program, academic program, which combines your content, third-party content from Coursera, all of that to provide a good differentiated learning experience. And then be able to do that, how do you make sure that as faculty, everyone is equipped with some of the newer areas that are coming up, and how can we help in building new content itself? So that's something that we continue to talk about. The second thing that, again, every student who comes into universities is looking for employability. How do we drive industry micro credentials and create placement opportunities for students, right? The third thing we think is important. If we do the first two things well, we think we can help from a brand perception and a rankings perception for universities. I'm presuming it is important for even KMUTT, for local rankings, and to be seen as you're already a top ranked school, engineering school, for example. How do you continue to retain that position of a top ranked university? And finally, we've also seen many of our partners work with Coursera to actually develop new programs. And when you say new programs, that obviously are newer revenue streams and newer ways of catering to different segments of students or in different domains, right? I want to kind of see if this resonates And if anyone has a commentary on this, does this make sense for like as areas that we want to try to continue to influence? Yeah? Okay, I'll move forward. So today I want to spend a lot of time talking about generally about how do we strengthen academic excellence. And we are saying calling it for credit learning. What that means really here is how can we use Coursera within the curriculum? So that one of the key things that we have learned over the working with many institutions is that incentives work, right? I mean, the right incentives for the right learning outcomes. So we've realized that over a period of time, if Coursera is built into curriculum, it is creates the right incentives for students to take learning seriously and also for us to be providing a good learning experience. So we'll talk a little bit about how are we able to deliver this for credit learning. So the way I think about the life cycle when you have to offer a course to a student, there are three key aspects. The learning aspect of it, which is what you've all been doing, like the content piece of it. Then how do you enable the teaching aspect of it, the delivery mechanism? What is the experience that students and teachers have for the content to be delivered? And finally, for us to be able to delivering a program in a campus, we need to make sure the assessments are strong, right? I mean, because it is important for us to evaluate what's been the outcome of that learning that has happened for in that semester or in that term, right? So that for us is the full life cycle of what we need to deliver for every single program that we are part of. Now, what I'd love to do is to go deeper into how we can do in each of these. The learn piece of it, you already heard a little bit from Raghav in terms of the kind of content that is there. So I'll focus more on the teach and the assess piece of it, where how can we enable faculty to be able to teach in a different way to give that hybrid experience and also assess so that it makes it a powerful medium. So while we saw all the credentials and all the MOOCs that Raghav mentioned earlier in the introduction, one of the key things that we've been working on is to build that credibility for our micro credentials. So today we have about 19 micro credentials that are American Council for Education accredited, ACE accredited, and again 12 are with ECTS. And this makes it useful for students who are looking at global programs or want to go into global studies. These are so that there is an incentive for them that if they finish this content on Coursera, if they are working with American universities or European universities, there's actually a way for them to get recognized for the effort that they put in Coursera, right? So, and the fact is, these are regulators who have reviewed the content on Coursera and have approved it for credit. What that means is they are saying that the content is rigorous enough to be able to offered as part of curriculum. So that's what we are trying to communicate here, so that it is already recognized by some of these top regulators in the world. These are some of the examples of some of the micro credentials that we already have from our top industry partners. And the good thing about these micro credentials, these are role based. So what we are trying to do is we understand, we work with many companies also, so for who are doing employee skilling. So we work with these industry partners to prepare content for specific roles. And now these, so if someone wants to become a cybersecurity analyst, just by the IBM cybersecurity analyst professional certificate will take you from the beginning of that content to the end of it, maybe end with a capstone project, so that a student who goes through that is able to build the skills required for that role, right? And which we think would be very useful for them if they are preparing to go to any of these careers. And now with the additional advantage of these being ACE accredited or ECTS accredited, it gives it even more value for them when they go for higher studies. The other thing that we've been doing is obviously in countries where there is non-English speaking students also, we've been working on building out language support. So, and this is again the first thing that I would call out from the power of AI. So earlier, if we had to translate one course, we would have spent about $20,000. Now it's less than, I don't know, $25. We can actually translate a course. With the power of AI, we've actually translated about 4,000 courses in Thai and of course 20 other languages. where now students have access to these courses with the transcripts and all of that, right? And of course, the next era of it is, like we've all heard, deep fakes in a negative world, but imagine a world where Andrew Ng is coming and talking in Thai to talk about machine learning or generative AI. So I think that's the next era of where we are able to even bring in spoken language in translations. So I think we are already having about 4,000 pieces of content in Thai, and I think that again would be very useful for your students to think about. So in fact, the Thai content, we have also, not just for the content, we have also changed the interface so that the interface itself will completely show up in Thai on Coursera, so that students can, if need be, they can actually use the entire interface in Thai itself. I don't know if this is, like yesterday we were at a university and I think they mentioned that, hey, but I want my students to do it in English, right? Because that's what we are trying to push. So I don't know how it is for all of you, but that's something, but this is an option that is available if students want to use Thai. Okay, I'm going to focus on now on the teach aspect of it. How do we help faculty to teach better with the power of Coursera? Today, I know we have a Gen AI program that's been set up, which is really being provided to students. But what we are talking about is how can we make a much more integrated experience so that Coursera becomes part of your curriculum itself, and therefore it becomes part of that. So the way we want to kind of try and do, and this is something that we've been doing with many universities in Asia, the key aspect is firstly at an academic policy level, every university has to be saying that X number of courses can happen through a third party or a platform, online platform. So there's a policy decision. And then our team can work with all of you to figure out the right courses for this curriculum that we are setting up. And once we figure out the right courses and set it up, then we can actually help in figuring out how to monitor the progress made by students. And finally, we can use the power of our AI tools to generate assessments. So essentially that full life cycle we can kind of work through. And let's talk about some of the examples of it. How do we do it? There are two models which we have seen in action. Essentially what happens is, in a curriculum, for example, you may have courses that you've been teaching for many years, let's say in computer science, algorithms as an example, right? Now, you may want to add Coursera material as part of that lesson plan, and it's a blended teaching experience so that students are coming in for after learning the basics online, and then they come to a class for discussion. So that's the blended model where you're actually helping and enhancing the delivery experience. Then there may be other courses where today you're not offering the choice to students. Let's say generative AI. If you want to offer a course on generative AI to your students, today maybe the university is not offering it. Now, those are great areas where you could leverage the course material that is there on Coursera and offer it as a standalone, which basically means the entire teaching and learning experience happens on Coursera with assessments also happening. And I know many of you may be from different departments. So we've done this work with many kind of disciplines. And I wanted to show an example of a bachelor's in computer science. So this, let's say, as an example of some of the semesters in a bachelor's in computer science. And some of these core subjects that you may be already teaching: physics, chemistry, probability, data, computer networks, etc. So, and since you are already teaching that, but now you also want to offer an AI and ML specialization. Now today, with the availability of Coursera, you are able to offer IBM, Google, Duke. What we want to do is, let's say these courses, data foundations, computer architecture, etc., we are able to blend the lesson plan where we are saying, let's say if some modules in these courses, the core subjects, you could select from Coursera within the lesson plan itself, so that that's blended into the curriculum for those courses. Whereas these electives, they are run completely through Coursera as a standalone one, where it may be a new choice that you're offering to your students. So this is the world of building in both standalone and blended, right? And this is a sample. So we could have the UC San Diego data structures and algorithms course coming as part of data foundations, etc., can be done for multiple programs. So this is an example of electrical engineering with IoT and embedded system specialization. We have where we can add different programs. So what we have done with this is, what we have now done is, as a faculty, for you to make your life easy, we have actually created these packages, almost saying that we will give you a full subject for each of these with the content material and the assessments fully available. So that tomorrow, if you want to offer any of these, we can actually start it off right away. Right? I mean, with the ability to offer it for credit so that the learning happens, you build it into your curriculum. I know your academic planning probably is happening for the next academic year. So if you want to offer these courses as part of the curriculum for the next academic year with the assessments on Coursera, this is something that you could do. And it's readily available. This is just an example. We can, of course, do a lot more. Just to kind of go deeper, right? I mean, this is a clear example of some of the work that we are doing with some of the other universities in the region, in Asia. So where we have said, we've mapped out a full computer science program, and we have called out for every semester which course from Coursera can be leveraged as an example, and where Coursera labs can be leveraged. And therefore, if you want to think about a full undergrad program, where a 4-year program, you could say for every semester that we have, maybe 1 or 2 courses come from Coursera. And that becomes the experience that students come in with, so that while they are learning largely on campus, but maybe 2 courses a semester comes through that online experience from Coursera, which is a good hybrid learning experience that we want to be able to provide. I'd love to hear any quick thoughts. Do any of you think this will work, not work? And
maybe I could just add one point to highlight some of what you're seeing. So you'll see in semester 6, semester 5, for example, machine learning techniques and applications from Duke University. And this is, of course, an example of computer science with specialization in AI and ML. Now, if the faculty member who's teaching machine learning wants to blend in the course from Duke University, that is an option that is available. And you'll see in semester 4, generative AI fundamentals and generative AI with large language models from AWS and deeplearning.ai. If today you're not already teaching that subject, then we can provide that. And to Bibin's point earlier, we can run that as a standalone course where the learning and the assessment can happen on the Coursera platform. So this becomes a combination of blended learning and standalone learning. You'll also see in year 4 entrepreneurship, right? And the idea is that to this computer science student, if they want to work in a startup, if they're thinking about multidisciplinary learning, and this is a course from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and that becomes a possible way to do it, and it's an open elective that we are thinking about. So this is just a double click on one example to say a bachelor's in computer science with AI and ML specialization. And Bibin, if you go back one slide, so that's the first one that we showed, AI and ML. But similarly, there are packages available to be able to bring in specializations on data science, cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And you can go forward to the next slide, and we can just stay on that.
Now I'd love to go into Course Builder. I think we mentioned about Course Builder. Course Builder is our AI tool, which will truly change the way in which faculty can create their own courses, right? And I want to kind of go into quickly showing you a demo of this tool. But before we go there, very quickly, like think about a world where you can actually create your own course, like ma'am mentioned, that you want to choose 4 different modules from different universities. So that's one option that you have, right? Where you want to just assemble a course from different courses. Or you want to create your own blended course. So where in this case, you're saying the first reading and the third reading, 4th, 5th video and the 6th reading assessment is all coming from Coursera. But the first one, second one and the 4th one are your own content. So this is a mix of your content with Coursera content. Again, that becomes your own custom course, right? I mean, so that's another second way of doing it. The other one, this is a great, again, use case. Yesterday we were talking about it. Let's say a new student is coming into a university. You want to onboard them into the way things happen in your university. So you could have your first 2 videos, which is an orientation to the university, and then maybe the rest of the content is about foundational skills, Like every new student who comes in into the university goes through that content which talks about the first two principles of what the university is about or things like that, and then goes into the foundational skills program as an example. So this course builder tool is essentially allowing you to assemble any sort of pieces for any use case. So I talked about three use cases. One is where you're building a fully blended full course, taking in content only from Coursera but different pieces of content. Second use case, your own content plus the Coursera content. Third use case, you are using it for, let's say, a new onboarding with some videos from your content and then the rest of it. Again, this can be in your own languages also. Like for example, the first two videos can be in Thai because you are introducing the student to your university, and then they go into the English content. So all of that can happen because of the power of AI. And now we'd like to show you the actual tool.
Okay, I'll take Aditya's help here. So this is actually the course builder tool, and I'm showing you a static version of it. We have a video that we can send to you, but I like this one. So I'm not a subject matter expert, and I used the tool the other day. It took me about 25 minutes to generate this course. So how it works, if you as the faculty member are trying to create this course that Bipin just described. So for example, Aditya, if you, maybe you could, in the course topic there, could you type in there introduction to creativity and entrepreneurship? That would be really nice. Right. And maybe from the second step, you can actually copy the learning objectives. I'm doing it step by step because it does take time and we don't have as many minutes. So I've put in there some learning objectives which are quite vague. You must excuse me. Remember, I am not a subject matter expert. I'm trying to design a course for MBA candidates here. And I've said, I want my candidates, to learn some fundamental steps in thinking and changing their perspectives, but I want them to be able to think about it in a business use case. And I want them to understand the basics of how entrepreneurship works. What is entrepreneurship? I know that KMUTT doesn't have a particularly large business program, but this, for example, is one way that maybe if you wanted your engineering students to think about it, you could use this and really deliver the program or the course at scale. And then in the learner audience there, Aditya, if I could help, he's like my magic assistant. He's going to type there, MBA candidates on an entrepreneurship course, just as an example. And then the course length, maybe it's just 3 hours, not too long. And I want to have 2 modules. And then I would hit generate outline. It would take its time, but we'll skip ahead to step 2 if you could jump to step 2. So I already did this a couple of days ago. And you will see here that Course Builder generated for me 2 modules. And with those very vague learning objectives, it suggested that I would split it into 2. One is, the first module is introducing key principles of creativity, right? And there are 2 sub-learning objectives, identify and explaining the key principles, applying creative thinking techniques to generate innovative business ideas. And then in the second module, this is more application, from idea to business plan. And the 3 learning objectives are going to get a student to, by the end of the module, evaluate feasibility of a business idea using research, right, and financial analysis. And by the end of it, they should be able to present a business pitch. So I like these learning objectives. You can edit them at this time. You can delete them if you want. And then you basically would hit next. And it would just do its thinking. You will go and get a cup of tea. And then you can skip ahead. Thank you, Aditya. To the last, where it's going to search our full catalog and at the end of it, insert and suggest for you different course recommendations. I'm going to just go backwards 1 second. It just takes some time. It's all right, we'll just jump. No, it's okay. So anyway, so what happens is that this is the final version where you're missing one step where I could actually specify certain courses. So for example, if you've already taken a course or you know of a course that is by University of Illinois Alberta-Champaign, and there's particular videos that you want to use, you can add that course to the search and then pick those videos. So in this case, it's narrowed down certain courses and sections from University of Sydney and University of Maryland College Park. You can click into any of this and hit the preview button. Aditya, if you could click the and you as the subject matter expert can have a look. You can look at the transcript to see whether or not this content suits your teaching needs. And once you're done with that, if you can just scroll down a little bit, Aditya, you can actually add items. Let's go up a bit. Yeah, there's an add item button there. You go up a bit, add item, yeah. So this is funky. I like this. So you can add a reading, you can add a video, and if you already have content, which I'm guessing you do at KMUTT, on your LMS, you can also link it to this course. So you don't have to recreate the wheel and do the work all over again. And you can also, at a later step, add YouTube videos. And there is also, on the left, that you can see this question banks option. Based on the course that you've created, you can actually get the tool to generate an assessment for you based on this blended content. So I did a version of it the other day, and I asked it, in the 5 categories of the learning outcomes that were generated, because if you remember, Module 1 had 2 learning outcomes, Module 2 had 3. So there were 3 learning outcomes. I said, I want 3 questions per LO. It gave me 15 questions, and then you can actually review the questions afterward. You can download them and you can use them in an assessment and get your students to take the quiz on Coursera. It's auto-graded, and then you can just receive their grades as per normal. And if you already have an LMS, that will just pass back to the LMS. So this is, I guess, just one example of the package that we were discussing and how it will work quite seamlessly for you. That's pretty much it.
So if this kind of gives you an idea of how you can actually generate your own contextual course, right? I mean, so while you may and again, this is what I mentioned about blended teaching, or if it's standalone, right? I mean, this tool allows you and gives you as faculty the power to decide how to drive this, right? And the point being, sometimes what happens is when someone comes and says, please use Coursera, as faculty, what do you all first think? I mean, generally what faculty will think is, oh, wow, I have already so much work on my plate. I mean, this is yet another additional work, right? What we want to try and do is to reduce the work that you have. In the past, for example, to create a lesson plan, maybe you would have had to sit and think through maybe for weeks to actually develop a lesson plan. Here is a way to kind of quickly get into something that you do in a matter of an hour, to actually design it, and then you can of course tweak it over a period of time, right? I mean, and make it a much more appealing course.
We've trained it over the last 6 months, and what we saw was prompts being entered into generative AI, right? So we can enter the course name, we can enter the course outline, we can give it the learning objectives, we can tell it who the learners are, how long the course is, etc. And then if you remember one of the first slides that we looked at, it said there are 200,000 clips, which are 5 to 10 minute videos on the Coursera platform. There are 7,000 courses on the Coursera platform. So the generative AI is taking the prompt that we have given it, it's going and then looking through the Coursera platform, and then it is showing us eventually what the course could look like. It's an AI assistant that is available to you, and everything can be edited. So if you don't like something, you can delete it. If you like something, you can add it, you can change the language, etc. And it's a powerful assistant which will hopefully enable you to use content from the Coursera platform. And today in the physical world, this is what you would do with books, right? You would do a lot of research, you would look at books, and then you would pick bits and pieces of a book or a YouTube video or a PDF and all of that. Now we are enabling this to be a tool available within the Coursera platform for you to be able to use. And hopefully what this does is it takes the time that it takes to prepare for teaching, and it reduces that, and it frees up time for you to engage with students and engage more in the learning part of the activity and engage with students as well. So that's what this is. We are giving you a preview. We will conduct more detailed sessions later once we are able to launch this, but this is what this tool can do for you.
One key thing that faculty might think is, oh, but this is online. Like, how do we make sure that we are having high academic integrity for making sure that students are learning what they're learning, right? Especially if you're going to give them credits. So what we have done now is we've actually put in a lot more features, which is essentially to drive academic integrity. Some of them being like, making sure that there's only a time window when the course is available, or grade pass back. And we'll also talk about some of the assessment features. Like for example, like one of the things on, if you look at the key problems, people don't spend enough time maybe, or they use some other resources to write the answers, or somebody might say the questions are available on the internet, things like that. These could be ways in which students really look to beat the system. So what we have done is really, for example, we have something called a coach, which is really to enable learners to have a personalized chatbot who can help them from learning perspective. The second one, you heard about the assessment generator. Now the assessment generator, the good thing about that is, unlike a public MOOC assessment, which is available on demand, this you can create the assessment and open it up only for the exam period. So you might say that this assessment will open up on Friday 10 a.m. and will close by 11 a.m., for example. So therefore, the questions are not available or students can't share. So it runs like a proper exam where you could even build in, proctoring tools, etc., if you want to. In fact, we are working on something called AI Viva, which is really the next wave of our Gen AI capability, where students will be able to submit a video of their answer, and then the AI tool will be able to evaluate whether it makes sense or not. That's the next. I mean, we all do Vivas, I'm presuming. I mean, I've done Vivas as a student. But now, how do we use the power of AI to drive that conversation? So again, if you think about going back to our framework, learn, teach, assess. The content is there. Now with Course Builder, you are enabling faculty to be able to teach, and teach in a way that is suitable for the faculty, whether it's blended, standalone, mixing, whatever use case. And then finally assess by using the right assessments, by using the right proctoring tools or plagiarism checks, all of that, right? So that it becomes a full experience for the student. And now with our curations and our recommendations, what we want to come and do is, if you as faculty come and say, hey, I want to be able to offer a course on AI, then we should be able to come and tell you very quickly, hey, these are the 3 courses that you can combine together to offer it as a credit course, and here's an assessment that you can generate very quickly with it. And that's really the world we want to move to, so that when you start planning for your semesters, we should be like, and imagine a world where if you have, let's say, 45 courses during a 4-year program, I'm just randomly making it up, can we say 10 out of those 45 courses are coming in through a collaboration with Coursera, where you're building it, either running it on completely on Coursera, or you're building it into the lesson plan, as an example, right? And that's where we want to move to, and would love to see if there's interest. We can actually dig deeper and share more content about, for each of your faculties, what kind of content will make sense from a credit perspective, and then therefore how can we deliver that? Yeah, I mean, we spoke about all of these. We also have these question bank variants and randomization and all of that, typical ones. So I'm not going to spend too much time. I think that's pretty much what we had. But I'd love to see if there are thoughts. Does this work? Do you feel like this can work? Or do you feel like, oh, this is, our students are not ready for this? Like, what do you all feel? I'd love to hear, just to make sure that we are able to, that we have communicated correct.
day to day job เหมือนกับว่าเวลาเราจะสร้างคอร์สขึ้นมาคอร์สนึงเนี่ยนักเรียนต้องการเรียนจุดประสงค์นี้1 2 3อะไรเงี้ยครับเราใช้ระยะเวลานานแค่ไหนในการที่จะสรุปออกมาว่าจะได้คอร์สออกมาใน1คอร์ส
So normally when we talk about building a course, I believe that all lecturers here probably have already, some materials available. So it really depends, We talking about how long the instructor would use to build a course. I don't think we spend much time, Maybe like we can plan the lecture like for a 3 hours lecture, probably we will plan about 3 hours. So if we have a 15 sessions per semester, we probably taking about 45 hours to prepare for a course of 45 hours in general.
Yeah. So I think 45 hours, if we can, 45 hours preparation time, if we are able to bring it down to 15 hours, hopefully that will give you the 30 hours of time for you to do your research or other things that you may want to do. That's what we are trying to hope for.
The other thing I would add, and we see this with many lecturers, many faculty members, is you're constantly thinking, look, how do I keep my course fresh and up to date? And what this can help you do is, because it's scarring such a large platform, you can feed your existing course material into Course Builder, and it can make suggestions to you. You might want to add this module, this lesson, etc. Because elsewhere in the world, this company is talking about this, or this university is talking about this. So it can make sure that your course is updated, it's fresh, and it's a tool that is available to you as a faculty member, as a lecturer as well. So it can help with that.
Yes, I think that the things that you two have been talking about is very interesting, because I use Coursera as like additional materials to my course, but I haven't seen the Coursera offering like to actually build the online course by
For your needs.
for my course. Sometimes when I look at the Coursera courses provided, sometimes it's too easy, in some part, or maybe too difficult in some parts. So if I can make my own course like you talking about, that would be very good. I think every lecturer will consider, the AI generative tools to help with building the courses.
Yeah,
I believe so.
And this is very helpful for us to hear because what we are showing you today, it's very new. Course Builder was launched about 3-4 weeks back, so it's new. We've been working on it for the last 6 to 9 months, so it's taken obviously a lot of work on training the AI model, the Gen AI model, to get it to a stage where we can now bring it to you. And we'd love for you to try it out, right? So that you can give us feedback on what you're liking, what is working, what is not working, so that we can continue to update it. And like Bibin said, if we can help you reduce your 45 hours to 15 hours, then it gives you a lot more time back for engaging with students. We also think it will help you keep your courses updated at all times. And then the university might say, look, we want to launch some new courses, not in your own courses, but there might be a generative AI prompt engineering that the university might want to launch. And if there isn't faculty who's teaching generative AI, then this can help create new courses also in some cases.
Yes, I will do it myself next semester.
Thank you. I want to kind of appreciate the questions and the things for ma'am also, if you can, for ma'am. Yeah, I think thank you all of you for joining us today. I'd love to maybe start with this group, and we can do a follow-up session with some of you, maybe on Zoom, to kind of talk through and help you start this. See, this is a very intuitive tool. So like we said, we are not the teachers really, right? But for us, like I created a course on smart manufacturing because I was meeting a engineering school with mechanical engineering, recently. So even though I'm not an expert topic, but broadly I can say that it makes sense. I think for you as faculty, you will be able to very easily call out that this makes sense and very quickly play around with it. What we are looking for is faculty champions who will really use the tool well, and then we can actually help in offering a lot more choice to students, right? I think this is a great way for us to offer choice to students versus being limited by, I have only so many faculty or so many capacity for this faculty and things like that, because now you are able to increase choice. That's my real point. So we'd love to set up a follow-up call and maybe give you all access so that you all can actually play around with the tool. If you play around with the tool for 20 minutes, you will all get it. It's as simple as that. So while it looks like there's a lot of steps, but it's not. When you play around with it, it's just 15-20 minutes and you'll know what you're doing with that.
Quick question on just adding on to her. For example, if she created a course, then would other KMUTT community be able to access her course?
Yeah. So what happens is once a course is published, it becomes like any other course on the Coursera catalog, of course available only to your students. So you can add it to any learning path or a learning collection, and then if students have access to that learning collection, then this course is also available.
Yes.
So you can access.
Our platform enables it. It's your decision. If you would like to make it available to other KMUTT ecosystem, then that's very much possible.
Okay.
Very much
So
possible.
if I am in a different program, I still can use the
Yes.
content
Yes.
in my
Our platform enables it. It's the faculty member's decision the university's decision if you would like to enable that.
So just to explain, so let's say you have a program. So the authoring platform is different from the catalog platform. Like what you are using is the catalog and the collection and the curation platform. So once you have authored this, if you add that same course into any collection or any program, then it will be available. So that's the way you will determine. It will behave like any other course on Coursera, including the assessment. So if you create an assessment, again you can add the assessment to any program and things like that.
UTT
Yeah.
program. Okay, thank you.
Just want to add, Dr. Kritika, you came to our event last year. If you remember, there was a university which showed the course on Royal Thai cuisine.
Yeah, that's Sondusit. I was going to ask that.
Yeah,
next
so-
question. Would you like to explain more of that Sondusit?
Okay. We might.
Don't have to show, just
So there is a university who has already used an older version of this, which the private authoring tool, to create a course in Thai and English called the Science and Art of Royal Thai Cuisine. All the videos were created by them themselves. It features celebrity chef Mcdang, which I'm not sure some of you might know.
The mukdang.
Mcdang, yeah,
Yes.
sorry for my pronunciation. And they have created like 9 modules of that course with videos, which are 5 to 10-minute videos, 4 videos in each module, readings, and a quiz or assessment within each module. They have it all in Thai as well as English. They can alternate between, Thai subtitles, Thai transcripts, or English as well. And they have embedded it and created a separate program called, for credit learning program for that course. Now, that program, they can invite students, as you probably, do invite students into program. Or you can add that course into existing programs that you have where you want students to take that course as well, along with the other courses. So both things are possible where you can have a separate program. I mean, we can work on the administration for that.
Another quick question. For example, if somebody in KMUTT is creating a course, would the organization admin see that there's a course that was created? Okay.
yes, you can get access.
Yes. Thank you.
Because it will be part of your educator portal. So the authoring portal, it will be part. So I'm assuming you will be an admin on the educator side also and on the cataloging side also. One thing could be an easy start. Like sometimes Course Builder, you have to create content a little bit. But let's say I feel like since these tracks are already set up, right, these 3 tracks, I'd love to see if we can drive just assessments on this, right? Like we could actually create assessments using our generative AI to maybe, so that for students, it's not just they get a badge, but you could even assess them using assessments for these, right? I mean, so you could combine for the novice or the intermediate or the advanced levels. You could even create an assessment on this. I'd love to work with you, Dr. Kritika, on figuring out if we can do an assessment on these. Because I think then it'll make the program even more sticky, and even more meaningful and rigorous. So that students, we can actually measure how much learning is happening.
Yes, and we like that idea because we always like to have some work examples
Correct.
so that we can grant the badge.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
great.
And is that something that we work with you, or is
Yeah,
there a faculty that works there? on this?
Actually, Dr. Suthatip created
Okay.
this curation.
Yeah, we can work with you to kind of actually say how can we generate assessments for these, and then we roll it out and things like that. So that could be a good starting point for using Coursera material for teaching plus assessments, and then that will give other faculty also an idea of how this can be used well for if they want to offer another course, which is through Course Builder plus assessments kind of a thing.
So that would be an additional assessment because each of this has
Correct.
its own
Correct.
mini assessment.
Correct. But if you want to combine an assessment of these 3 courses, we can do that. Like use these to generate new assessment, right? I mean, just to make sure that students are serious about it. Like what we have always seen that incentives are important, right? I mean, either credit is an incentive or jobs are an incentive for students. I mean, students are also having a lot of load. Faculty also have a load. So we need to make sure that the right incentives are created for students to learn.